deep in the Gobi Desert, far from any city, surrounded by nothing but sand and silence, a machine appeared that the world had never seen before. It weighed 4,000 tons. It stood taller than the Statue of Liberty when fully extended. It took 116 separate trucks just to move it. And when this 4,000-ton monster started working, it began doing something so impossible that engineers in Germany, Japan, and Americas are still scratching their heads. China didn't just build the world's largest crane. They unleashed it into a desert to do something that no one thought was even physically possible. And the results have terrified the entire renewable energy industry. This is the story of how one machine in the middle of nowhere is rewriting the rules of human engineering. Let's start with the machine itself. It's called the Zoomlion ZAT40000H. Built in China by Zoomlion Heavy Industry, it is the largest all-terrain crane ever constructed by human hands. The specifications are almost unbelievable. Total weight, 4,000 tons. That's the same as 8 fully loaded Boeing 747 jumbo jets. Maximum lifting capacity, 4,000 metric tons of payload. Maximum lifting height, 230 meters. That's over 750 feet straight up. Number of axles, 18. Number of wheels, 72. The Zoomlion ZAT40000H is 36 meters long and 14 meters wide. When parked, it takes up as much space as a small office building. To put this in perspective, the largest all-terrain crane built in Germany, Liebherr's LTM 11200 9.1, weighs 110 tons and lifts 200 tons of payload. China's machine is 36 times heavier and lifts more than 3 times as much. This isn't competition. This is a complete generational jump in crane engineering, and the rest of the world had no idea it was coming. But here's where the story gets truly insane. Building a 4,000-ton crane is one thing. Moving it across an entire country is something else entirely. The Zoomlion ZAT40000H was built in central China, but its destination was 2,000 kilometers away, deep in the Gobi Desert of northern China and Inner Mongolia. The journey took weeks. The crane had to be disassembled into 116 separate components. Each component required its own specialized heavy load truck. Roads had to be reinforced. Bridges had to be inspected. Power lines had to be temporarily raised. Traffic had to be rerouted across multiple provinces. The convoy moved at an average speed of just 30 kilometers per hour. At several points, the trucks had to stop and wait while engineers physically widened roads to allow the convoy to pass. By the time the entire crane reached the Gobi Desert, it had crossed mountains, rivers, and farmland. Once on site, a team of specialists spent another 6 weeks reassembling the machine piece by piece. The total cost of the move alone? Over $50 million, and the mission hadn't even started yet. So why would China spend tens of millions of dollars just to move a crane to the middle of nowhere? The answer reveals something most Americans don't understand about modern Chinese strategy. The Gobi Desert covers over 1.2 million square kilometers across China and Mongolia. It is one of the most hostile environments on Earth. Temperatures swing from minus 40 degrees Celsius in winter to 50 degrees Celsius in summer. Wind speeds regularly exceed 100 kilometers per hour. The land is virtually uninhabited. For most countries, this would be considered wasteland. For China, it is the most valuable real estate in the world. Because the Gobi Desert has 2 things in nearly infinite supply: sunlight and wind. The same harsh conditions that make this region uninhabitable also make it perfect for renewable energy generation. The Chinese government realized this years ago. While American politicians debated climate policy, Beijing quietly drew up plans to transform the entire Gobi region into the largest renewable energy generation zone in human history. The 4,000-ton crane is one weapon in that strategy. And the real mission isn't just building wind turbines, it's reshaping global energy itself. Here's what the crane was actually built to do. China is constructing the largest wind power facility ever attempted by human civilization. The project is called the Tengger Desert Wind Power Base. It is located in Ningxia, in the heart of the Gobi region. The first phase alone has a planned capacity of 13 gigawatts. To understand how big that is, consider this. The entire state of Texas has roughly 39 gigawatts of installed wind capacity, built over 25 years. China is building 1/3 of that capacity in a single desert facility, in a fraction of the time. The wind turbines being installed are not ordinary turbines. They are giants. Each turbine stands 180 meters tall. The blades are 80 meters long, longer than an American football field. Each individual turbine weighs over 800 tons. The nacelle, the box at the top that contains the generator, weighs 200 tons by itself, and lifting that 200-ton nacelle into position, 180 meters in the air in a desert with unpredictable winds, requires a machine that simply did not exist anywhere else in the world until China built one. The Tengger Desert project is just the first piece of a much bigger puzzle. China's national plan is to install 455 gigawatts of combined wind and solar capacity across the Gobi and surrounding deserts by 2030. To repeat that number, 455 gigawatts. That is more renewable energy than the entire combined installed renewable capacity of the United States today, by a factor of nearly 4. The Chinese government has already begun construction across 19 provinces. The first phase, completed in 2022, added 100 gigawatts of capacity. The second phase is now underway. The third phase is in advanced planning. To support this, China has built an entire ecosystem of supporting infrastructure. Ultra-high voltage transmission corridors that carry electricity thousands of kilometers from the deserts to coastal megacities. Pumped hydro storage stations to balance the grid. Battery banks the size of football stadiums. METs. Smart grid management systems that monitor every turbine in real time. And to install the turbines themselves, you need the world's largest crane. Hence the 400-ton monster that just rolled into the Gobi. This is not random infrastructure spending. This is a coordinated national mission, and the United States has nothing remotely comparable. Now let's talk about the actual engineering, because this is where the story becomes truly mind-blowing. Installing a wind turbine in the Gobi Desert is one of the most difficult engineering tasks on Earth. First, the foundation. Each turbine requires a concrete foundation roughly 25 meters wide and 4 meters deep, reinforced with steel. That single foundation requires 600 cubic meters of concrete and 100 tons of steel rebar. Then comes the tower. The 180-meter tower is shipped to the site in 3 or 4 sections, each weighing over 100 tons. The crane must lift each section perfectly into place and bolt it to the section below. A single misalignment of even a few centimeters can compromise the entire structure. Then comes the nacelle, the 200-ton component at the top. The crane must lift this giant box 180 meters into the air and place it on top of the tower with absolute precision. Finally, the 3 blades, each 80 meters long, must be attached to the nacelle. Each blade weighs about 35 tons. The crane must hold these blades stationary in desert winds while engineers bolt them into place. The entire process takes about 4 days per turbine. The Zoomlion ZAT40000H can install approximately 90 turbines per year. China has hundreds of these turbines planned. That is why a machine like this had to exist. But the real surprise, the part that has stunned environmental scientists across the world, is what's happening to the desert itself. When Chinese engineers began installing massive solar and wind farms in the Gobi, they expected to generate clean electricity. They didn't expect what came next. Satellite imagery taken between 2020 and 2025 shows something extraordinary. The areas around the massive renewable energy installations are turning green. Vegetation is growing where nothing grew before. Wildlife is returning to regions that had been barren for centuries. The reason is fascinating. The massive solar panel arrays create shade, which reduces surface temperatures by up to 5 degrees Celsius. This shade also reduces evaporation of moisture from the soil. Wind turbines, surprisingly, alter local wind patterns in ways that help moisture settle on the ground. And the cleaning systems used on the solar panels distribute small amounts of water across the landscape. The combined effect is that China's renewable energy megaprojects are accidentally creating one of the largest ecological restoration zones on Earth. The Gobi Desert solar horse farm now generates 2 billion kilowatt-hours per year, while simultaneously stabilizing sand dunes and bringing back native plants. China is not just generating clean electricity, they are healing the desert itself. And it gets bigger. Wind turbines are only half of the Gobi Desert story. The other half is solar. China is building the world's largest solar installations across the same desert region. The Midong solar farm in Xinjiang, completed in June 2024, has a generation capacity of 3.5 gigawatts. That makes it the largest single solar power installation on planet Earth. It cost $2.13 billion. It employed over 20,000 workers during construction. It even pioneered drone-based solar panel installation techniques that have never been used before. And then there's the Super Air Power Bank, also located in the Gobi region of Qinghai province. This is the world's largest liquid air energy storage plant. It cools air down to negative 194 degrees Celsius, turning it into liquid. When power is needed, the liquid air is warmed, expands by 750 times in volume, and drives turbines to generate electricity. The facility achieves over 95% cold storage efficiency. Nothing like it exists anywhere else in the world. And then, perhaps most importantly, there's the Gobi Desert nuclear reactor. In November 2025, the Chinese Academy of Sciences announced that their experimental thorium reactor in the Gobi had successfully achieved thorium to uranium fuel conversion for the first time in history. This breakthrough opens the door to an almost unlimited supply of safe nuclear energy. And it all happened in the same desert where the 4,000-ton monster is installing wind turbines. Now let's talk about why this should concern every single American watching this video. In the first 5 months of 2025 alone, China installed 198 gigawatts of new solar capacity. That is more solar capacity than the United States added in the entire year of 2024. Let that sink in. In 150 days, China built more renewable energy than the United States built in 365 days. And the gap is widening every year. The implications are massive. First, energy independence. As global oil markets remain volatile and geopolitical tensions rise, China is rapidly building energy systems that do not depend on Middle Eastern oil or American natural gas. Second, manufacturing dominance. China now produces 80% of the world's solar panels, 60% of the world's wind turbines, and is rapidly capturing global markets for batteries, inverters, and grid infrastructure. Third, technology leadership. The Zoomlion ZAT40000H is just one example. China now leads the world in the engineering and manufacturing of large-scale renewable energy machinery. The United States, by comparison, is dependent on Chinese imports for most clean energy components. American politicians have been promising a green energy revolution for decades. China is actually building one. And every single project, every wind turbine, every solar panel, every storage facility moves the global balance of power further east. So where does this go from here? The answer should worry every American policymaker. China's target for 2030 is 455 gigawatts of combined renewable capacity in the Gobi region alone. Construction is on schedule. Funding is fully secured. Land rights are already finalized. The Tengger Desert project will be fully operational by 2027. The Midong solar farm is expanding to phase 2 with an additional 2 gigawatts planned. The Super Air Power Bank will be replicated at 12 other locations across China. The thorium reactor program is moving toward commercial deployment by 2035, and the Zoomlion ZAT40000H. 3 more units are already being manufactured at Zoomlion's factories in Changsha. By 2027, China will have 4 of these 4,000-ton monsters working simultaneously across the Gobi region, installing turbines at a rate that no other country can match. Meanwhile, the United States has yet to install a single wind turbine larger than 180 meters tall. American crane manufacturers like Manitowoc and Link-Belt produce machines that are decades behind the Chinese designs. The gap is not closing, it is accelerating, and the consequences for global energy markets, manufacturing supply chains, and geopolitical influence will define the next 30 years. The 4,000-ton monster in the Gobi Desert is not just a crane. It is a symbol of how decisively the global energy race has shifted. While the American media argued about culture wars and partisan politics, Chinese engineers quietly built the largest renewable energy infrastructure project in human history. The next decade will reveal whether the United States can mount any meaningful response, or whether the era of Western industrial leadership is officially over. If this video opened your eyes to the silent technological shifts the mainstream media refuses to cover, hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications.